I'm sure you've heard the statement of people that's living here in the United States of America, where people say that we live in a capitalist society. But I hear people say that, and they'll go and ride on a public road, or they'll call the police or the fire department, or they'll go to public schools, or, you know, they'll use all of the public things that we have in America. And they will, out of their mouths, say we live in a capitalist society. Well, I'm not here today to argue whether capitalism or socialism is good or bad, but I am here today to give you a definition of what capitalism is and what socialism is. Because I think people hear these things a lot and we don't give any kind of thought to what they really are. We just assume we know. I have friends that make a lot of money, and sometimes they don't even know the real definition of what capitalism is. I have people that work in governmental positions, and they don't even know what socialism is for real. So we hear those words. Most of us, I know people from where I'm from and people that I know, when we hear words like a capitalist, that's a bad word, so to speak. It's looked at as a bad thing. We hear the word socialist, we look at it as maybe that's a better word than capitalism, because, you know, it seems as if that's what we'll get. So we hear we're going to get something. So when you hear candidates or a political party talking about socialism, it don't really bother us because we really don't understand, you know, what these things are. First of all, before we try and understand what socialism is or capitalism is, we need to understand a simple word called capital. And I'm not talking about the Capitol building or a capital letter, but in economic terms, the term capital. And I'll give you the real definition, then I'll give you a simpler definition. In economics, capital goods are capital are those durable products, are those durable produce goods, are those durable produce goods that are in turn used as productive inputs for further production of goods and services. A typical example is the machinery used in a factory. Most people, when they hear about capital, they think that money is capital, and money is a capital, but money is not capital. Let's give a much, much simpler definition of capital so we can understand. Capital is the means of production, kind of like if you went to the park or you went to another city, somebody say, how did you get there? Well, I drove there in my car. Well, what was your means of transportation? What did you use to get to the park? What did you use to get to the other state or whatever your destination was? That thing that you use is called the means of transportation. Well, in economics, the means of producing something that will probably make you more money down the road is called capital. The means of production is called, it's what capital is. Capital is the means of production. Now, what a capitalist is a person, I'm not going to go ahead and give all these the real definitions because they take too long and it's deep, but you can look them up. And this is the real definition. It's just not going to be as wordy. But capitalism is when you believe of course, it's a political theory idea. I have to say that part. Let me look at it. It's an economic system in theory idea that you believe individuals or a group of individuals, such as a corporation, should be able to own the means of production. In other words, people, regular people, individuals or a group of people, like a corporation or a company, they should be able to own the means of production. Like I'm shooting this video right now. I own this computer. I own the camera. I own the microphone. And I believe I should have the right to own these things so I can produce videos. I'm the owner of it. And if there's anything to be gained, whether financial or any otherwise, I should be the beneficiary or the benefactor of those things. And so a capitalist is a person a capitalist is where private ownership is not just private ownership, but private ownership of capital is believed to be a good thing. Now, socialism on the other end is when you believe, let me give you the other definition. So socialism is an economic and political philosophy, just like capitalism. Only difference is it believes that the society or the people as a whole should own all of the capital. In other words, like, I shouldn't be able to own this computer. Society should own it. I shouldn't own this microphone. I shouldn't own that camera. Society should own it. And that's why I said, when people say we live in a capitalist society and they go right out and ride on a public road, the road belongs to the society. And guess who's paying for it? With taxes, that's society. Now, why is that important to know what capitalism is and what socialism is? And there's another one called communism. And communism is when the government owns it all and they get to distribute it out to people as they see fit or who needs it. But I believe that I am a capitalist, by the way. I believe in being a capitalist. And some people say, well, you must be rich. No, I'm not rich. Capitalist, not yet. But it's going to be mighty hard to get rich if you are not a capitalist, because what's going to be the benefit of you trying to do things great or bigger things, or you sacrificing and you don't actually get to be the beneficiary of those things? There's not going to give you a reason to make anything better because society is going to just take everything. People like to talk about the Bible. Not in the Bible. The church is a socialist society. And all socialism is not a bad thing, and capitalism is not a bad thing. Don't have to be. But I've read in the book of Acts where in the early church, they sold all their possessions and they laid them at the apostles' feet and they distributed among each other, and they had all things common. And people like to talk about that, but just a few pages over, they had to get 7 people to put over matters of some widows being neglected because socialism don't really work. That's where we get the 7. Some people call those 7 the deacons. They had a problem immediately. Then later on, you go from they sold all their possessions in the first part, in first church, early church. And then later when Paul, he had to write, if a man don't work, he don't eat. There won't be much incentive for a man to do much if he's just going to live off society. And that's what a lot of people think. A lot of people don't want to add anything to the society. They think the society is there for them to take from. But for us to be better citizens, even as a capitalist, we have to produce something. And we have to give something back into the system for the public. So if all of us were able to create things, if all of us were able to contribute to the system or to whatever group that we're in, then the group is stronger. And for those that can't produce, not those that won't, those that can't produce, we will be able to assist those people. We could have public school systems. We could have a public library. We could have a fire department, a police department that helps all of us. But somebody's got to pay. Somebody got to pay their salaries. Somebody's got to build and maintain these roads. So we got to understand capitalism is not a bad thing. It's just a bad thing when people think that they just come to the table and the things we need just magically appear. And that's just not true. So let's look at it again. Capitalism means that you believe, or that you believe it's the idea that private ownership of capital should exist. And socialism is when you believe or there's a philosophy, or everybody owns it. But if everybody owns it, everybody wouldn't start a video, this channel here. Everybody wouldn't make this video. Everybody may want to make a video on something else. So it don't work that way all the time. Now, I had to do this video because I look at our people a lot of time, our people, black people mostly. And I know a lot of poor people, it's hard for us to believe so heavily in stuff like capitalism because we don't own things or we don't believe that we have the right. We don't believe we have the right to, to create stuff. So we think that only way we're going to get something is if somebody give it to us. But speaking of black people, before we had integration, black people had to be capitalists. You know why? Because we had to have our own. If we don't have to have our own now, a lot of people, they just say, I'm going to go and join a greater society, and then I'll let society, take care of me. But if everybody thought that way, society won't be able to take care of you as well. Now, again, I'm not anti-socialist and I'm not anti-capitalist, but I am a capitalist. I believe in owning the means of production. But at the same time, but I do believe in being a part of social groups and social the government. I'm a citizen of the United States, and I think we have to be a part of making our churches greater. We have to be a part of making our communities greater. We have to be a part of making our cities greater, our states. Everywhere we go, we have to be a part of making them greater. But if we only come to the table with an appetite, we'll all go hungry at some point. So this was not to sway you in one way or the other. This was just to inform you the difference between what socialism and capitalism is. And I hope you got something out of this today. If you don't understand everything I'm saying, just Google them. Get your dictionary, whatever you have to do, find out what these things are. So when you're hearing people talking about capitalists being bad, they don't, you got to think about it. It's good and bad in everything. Some socialist stuff is bad, and some capitalist people can be bad. But capitalism in and of itself is a wonderful concept, wonderful idea, and it's great for private ownership, especially if you're a good man, a good woman, and you have the power to produce things that are going to be good. And you can actually make life better. You can create jobs, or you can create economics for yourself. You can create businesses. You can do a lot of things. But if you wait on society to do it, who is the society that's going to do it? We like to talk about the government. Who is the government? The people. So we're only as strong as we are as individuals. So again, we wrap it up again. Capitalism is the means that you believe that individuals should have the right, or individuals should own capital. Individuals or a group of individuals, a corporation can own capital, the means of production. Socialism is when the society owns everything. So I like to see more capitalists because it creates more competition. We'll get better products. People will try and outdo each other because they're going to benefit if they win over the customer. And if we are the producers, we will be in better shape. We can't always just be the buyer, and we definitely don't want to just be the beggar. We want to be the producer. I'm Marcus E. Brown. Hope you learned something today. You should go out there, take this information, and live your best life. And guess what? Your best life, it begins with Jesus. See y'all later.